We all have our biases, our beliefs, our assumptions. There are things we don't always think about when it comes to personal characteristics such as race, sexual orientation, religion, and appearance.
Making a judgment, jumping to conclusion, it's in our nature. You meet someone from a different region in India and unconsciously assume that they must eat a particular type of cuisine or speak certain language, even though you have no evidence to support this assumption. These are examples of a conscious or even unconscious bias which can lead to misunderstandings, stereotypes about people from different parts of the country.
In a recent meeting, I experienced the impact of unconscious bias in action when I was told ladies first and given the speaking slot based on gender rather than my expertise or role in the project. I perceived that this can undermine the confidence of female participants and reinforce the notion that they need special treatment or assistance to contribute effectively.
I have noticed this common belief that we should not question or challenge things too much. We are often told to simply go along with what our superiors say. This bias is known as a conformity bias. It's when people agree to avoid conflicts among team members and to prevent hurt feelings during discussions. I have always been aware of this bias in my own experiences. However, I have also come to understand that when team members ask questions and challenge each other in a constructive way, it leads to the best teamwork.
It creates frustration and even uncertainty. Why do people make these assumptions? We know it's not always deliberate, but how can we address bias within Supergas to create more awareness of the unconscious assumptions we all hold?
Most of this bias comes out in small ways and will often go unnoticed, especially in meetings. Or maybe people notice but choose to ignore them, or make a little joke about them, or talk about them after the meeting. Let's face it, this is most likely to be out of embarrassment or not knowing what to say at the time.
I think we need to create a shared vocabulary.
We need to develop an approach that everyone understands and buys into. And so, SHV is proposing the blue card. It does not have to be a physical card, although it can be. Rather, it's signal to create a moment of reflection. When someone says something that is clearly biased, we can use the blue card to call it out. It's a way of helping us to become more aware of our beliefs and biases.
Raising the blue card is just the start. We also need to explain why it was raised, and the easiest way to do that is by using an I statement. Imagine yourself as a younger employee referred to as a young girl or young boy in a meeting. You could raise the blue card and say, I don't think that I'm taken seriously if I'm being perceived just as a young boy or a girl. I don't think you meant that to sound how it did. You explain your viewpoint, but also soften the impact by acknowledging the phrase was not intentionally patronizing.
It might be hard to raise the blue card, but other colleagues can do it as well. Don't be a bystander. When biases are clearly and compassionately pointed out, the recipient can usually take it. Okay, so once we start using the blue card, we also need to create shared norm for how we respond. After all, it's natural to be a little embarrassed. When a situation is called out, we do not always handle the things that the way we should.
A few set phrases can ease the situation. Thank you for pointing that out. Recognizes that it takes courage to call somebody out. So thanking them puts them to ease and shows respect. What comes next depends upon whether or not that person really understands why the blue card was used. They can respond with, I get it, thanks, and apologies.
Or they can say, sorry, I don't get it. Please, can you explain a little more? Perhaps after the meeting. This opens the opportunity to fully understand and why the comment has been called and provides more insight into the other.
How do we make it a habit?
Well, first of all, we can all commit to a check-in moment. Maybe once every meeting. After all, practice makes perfect. One thing we do know, that staying silent only reinforces bias. Only by speaking up can we create a truly safe environment. The more we do so, the more we can all learn about our subconscious biases, which will inevitably lead to greater awareness and better understanding.
We all have a role to speak up. If we share the same vocabulary, the same values, and the same commitment, we can make our company better. We need to work together to build a psychologically safe and inclusive working environment. which can only be benefit to all of us.
Help us to break down bias. Don't watch it happen.
Raise your blue card.